Welcome to all the class. Now we are working videos. Already explained about the civilization in terms of the frame. That relation is to second lesson we are taking. Second lesson also one in English. What are second A the respiration. The respiration, the already discuss about the first question, first SAQ, inspiration and expiration. Already we completed this. Next, today we are going to discuss about the next second one is transportation of CO2. Next, third one is the respiratory movement regulation. Regulation. Respiratory disorders. Here already we completed the inspiration and the expiration. Next, now today we are going to discuss about the transportation of the carbon dioxide. Here, from the tissues to the lungs, how the carbon dioxide is transported, we are going to discuss. Listen, students, among these four, one will be compulsory in the exam. Here, the digestion one SAQ will be there most probably from this unit. Only one is there. Sometimes they will give the two questions also, two SAQs also. These are the important. Among these four, one will be compulsorily coming in the exam. That's why listen clearly. This one is a very important. See this one. Now we are going to discuss about the second question, that is called as a transportation of carbon dioxide. Clear? After that, I will show the answer. First, I'll transportation of carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is transported to the lungs, from the tissues to the lungs. Three ways are there. First one is called as a carbonic acid. As a carbonic acid. And next as carbamino compounds. As bicarbonates. Here three ways the transportation is occur. One is as a carbonic acid. Second one is called as a carbamino compounds. And the third one is called as a bicarbonates. How much? The 7% of the carbon dioxide transported as a carbonic acid. Next, this is present in the plasma. Blood is having the plasma. Inside of the plasma, like this, they are transported. Next, the carbamino compounds. Through the carbamino compounds, 20 to 25% of carbon dioxide is transported through the RBC. inside of the RBC, the means the hemoglobin is having the amino group. With that amino group, they are transported. And third one is called as a bicarbonates. This is also occur inside of the RBC only. How much? 70% is transported like a bicarbonates. Clear? Next, the one by one, we'll take one by one. See, first one is the carbonic acids. Here, through the as a carbonic acid, the carbon dioxide is transported from the tissues to the lungs. How it is means inside of the plasma, it is a dissolved state. Inside of the plasma, water is present. That water is added with the carbon dioxide and form it as a H2CO3. Here, this is the reverse reaction. In the inside of the tissues, they are added with the means inside of the tissues, the blood is plasma is containing the water. With that water, carbon dioxide is added and form it as a H2CO3. That will be the reverse reaction in the alveoli site. They are reversible reaction. They dissociated and form it as a H2O and CO2. First, in the tissue place, the blood is having the plasma containing the water. Water is added with the carbon dioxide and form it as the H2CO3. That is in the alveoli place, in the lung place, they are dissociated into H2 and CO2. CO2 is given to the lungs. Here, like this, this is transported to the lungs. Which one? Through as a carbonic acid. Second one is the as carbamino compounds. Carbamino compounds. The hemoglobin RBC is containing the respiratory pigment. The hemoglobin is present. Hemoglobin is having the NH2 group is present here. With that NH2 group, the carbon dioxide is combined and form it as a carbamino compound. Here, the carbamino hemoglobin is formed. Here, how it is means HB NH COO plus H plus. Here it is a carbamino hemoglobin. This is called as a carbamino hemoglobin. This one is present inside of the RBC. Carbamino compounds are formed inside of the RBC, where means inside of the tissue place. That inside of the tissue, the PCO2, carbon dioxide, after the metabolic activity, CO2 is more. That CO2 added with the, combined with the hemoglobin, RBC containing the hemoglobin containing the amino group. With that amino group, the carbon dioxide is added and form it as a carbamino hemoglobin, where in the tissue place, like this reaction. In the alveolar place, through the transportation, they goes to the lungs. In the lungs, they enter like this. They are enter from the tissues to the lung. Enter in the lungs, they are reversible reaction. They are dissociated into CO2 and again they are formed as a hemoglobin. Clear? Like this, the how much? 20 to 25% is carbon dioxide transported from the tissues to lungs like this. Like as a carbamino compounds. I will show the answer afterwards. Next, third one is the third method is the as bicarbonates. CO2 transported as a bicarbonates. Here also same like the inside of the first reaction carbonic acids time that carbon dioxide is added with the water of the plasma. But here that carbamino the bicarbonates are formed inside of the RBC. Inside of the RBC site water is present. With that water carbon dioxide is combined. Form it as the same like a first reaction. It is H2CO3 is formed. but here in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme, carbonic anhydrase, in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme, the H2CO3 is formed. This is also a reversible reaction. The detail I will write it here one more time. The space is not there, that place. That's why H2O plus CO2 gives rise to H2CO3. It is a reversible reaction in the alveolar, in the lung tissue place like this. The reversible reaction occur in the lung place, and also again this is again dissociated into HCO3 plus H plus ions. This is also reversible. It is also occur by in the presence of carbonic anhydrase. Carbonic anhydrase. This one is the equations are very easy. This equation only present in the carbonic acids. Through the carbonic acids like this only. The second reaction is only amino group is added. But in the third reaction, same like this first reaction, this one is the same. But with the extrally, this one is occur. This again dissociated. H2CO3 is dissociated and form it as a HCO3 minus and the H plus ions. Here also in the presence of carbonic anhydrase. Here, how much? The 70% of the carbon dioxide is transported like this. The 7% is as a carbonic acid. The 20 to 25% is as a the carbamino compounds. The 70% is transported as a the bicarbonates. Clear? I'll draw the diagram. How the bicarbonates are transported. The diagram is not that much important for understanding purpose. I am taking the one diagrammatic picture for the bicarbonate transportation. This one is the inside of the tissues. Here it is the tissues are present. Inside of the tissues after the metabolic activities, CO2 is there. That CO2 is present in the intestinal fluid that enter into the blood capillaries. Blood capillaries of the tissues. In the tissues, the inside of the tissues, the capillaries are there. That capillaries are the outside. That means that is taken. That capillary wall is taken. Capillary here. Sorry, here capillary wall. This one is. Blood capillary wall. The inside of the tissues. That is the blood is taken. The CO2. That CO2 enter inside of the blood, the RBC. RBC is taken, this one, and how it is means, see this one, CO2. The CO2 is added with the H2O. H2O and form it as a, 1 second. H2CO3 that dissociated into H plus H2, the HCO3 minus. Here HCO3 minus, I'll write it again. Yeah. H2CO3 that dissociated into HCO minus H plus. HCO minus is enter inside of the plasma. Here. Next, this is comes out means the which one? HCO3. Next, it is the tissue site. Tissue site. This one is tissue site. Here the hemoglobin takes the CO2 and H plus ions. Here HCO3 comes out, that is taken by the CO2 and H plus, and next is the HCO3. In this, it is present in the alveolar or lung place, alveolar, or otherwise write it as a lung site. Lung site. Here, the inside of the lungs, they are having the HCO3, the reverse reaction, and H plus ions. They are formed it as a here the reverse, that is the H2CO3 is formed. This H2CO3 dissociated into H2O plus CO2. This CO2 is eliminated out through the alveolar wall. Here, the means this one is the alveolar wall. Here, in this time, HB release CO2 and H plus ions. Here, like this, bicarbonates, the through the CO2 present inside of the tissues that goes to the blood vessels, means the tissue is provided with the blood vessels. Inside of the blood vessel, CO2 is enter. In the RBC, H2O is there. In the presence of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme that is added and formed as a HCO3. This HCO3 dissociated into HCO3 minus and H plus ions. These through the transportation, HCO3 ions are enter inside of the lung place, lung site, and the lungs also provided with the blood vessels inside of the pulmonary blood vessels. The HCO inside of that HCO3 H plus is added and form it as a H2CO3 that is dissociated into H2O plus CO2. CO2 is eliminated out. Here, this one is about the as a bicarbonate, and here the one more VSAQ also important, chloride shift. Chloride shift. In the RBC, the bicarbonate, this one is carbonate ion, is that carbonate ion HCO3 enter inside of the plasma. Instead of that, the Cl minus ions are from the plasma to goes to the RBC. Here, the exchange of the which one, HCO3 and Cl minus, they are exchanging from the plasma to RBC. Actually, the CO3 is present inside of the RBC. Inside of the RBC, the HCO3 is transported to the plasma. HCO3 minus. For the maintaining of the balance, the plasma is given the Cl minus to the RBC. That exchange is called as a chloride shift. That is important for the VSAQ. Clear? This one I will show in the notes. Okay, this one is about the transportation of the carbon dioxide. Next, the third question. Third important SAQ is the respiratory movement. Now, next is the regulation of the respiratory movements. How the respiratory movements are regulated. How the respiratory movements are regulated. By this means here the that is mainly regulated by the three structures. Four structures are mainly regulating of the respiratory movements. What are they means? The first one is the respiratory rhythm center. Here RRC, that is also called as a respiratory rhythm center. Here respiratory rhythm center. The first regulation, the site is the respiratory rhythm center. This respiratory rhythm center is present in the medulla oblongata of the brain. Here, medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata of the brain. The respiratory, see this one here, the respiratory rhythm center is present on the medulla oblongata of the brain. Here, next, the second side center is the pneumotoxic center that is present in the pons of the cerebellum. Here, pons for only. Second one, what it is? Second is the pneumotoxic center. Pneumotoxic center. Where it is present, neurotoxic center is the pneumotoxic center is present in the pons varoli of the cerebellum. Here is also called as a brainstem. Above the first one is present in the respiratory rhythm center of the brain, and the second, the pneumotoxic center, is present in the where it is the pons varoli. It is the respiratory rhythm center is present in medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. This one is pneumotoxic center is present in the pons varoli of the brain and brainstem. Next, the third site is there that is called as a chemosensitive area. That is also near the near the RRC, means the respiratory rhythm center. Near this is also present. That is the third one here. That is the chemosensitive area close to the respiratory rhythm center. Third site is called as the receptors. What are the receptors? Means they are the for the taking of the CO2 concentration, and the H plus ions concentration is mainly identified by this sensitive areas. Where they are present means the aortic arc. Means what the aortic arc? The pulmonary and systemic arcs are called as the aortic arcs, and the carotid arteries, both of them are having the receptors that is recognizing the carbon dioxide and the H plus ions, the concentration, and given the information to the respiratory rhythm center. The means inside of the blood, CO2 and the H plus ion concentration is more. That is identified by the two centers. This one is identified and this one is also identified. Which one? Chemosensitive area is identified, and also receptors of the aortic arc and the carotid arc, they can identify and give the information to the respiratory rhythm center. Respiratory rhythm center taking the necessary actions and taking the necessary action and send out the CO2 and H plus ions outside. Here, this one is about the regulation. Here, regulation of the respiratory movements are occurred by the four sites are there. Here the mainly the four centers are there for the regulating of the respiratory movements. The respiratory movements are not only regulated by the lungs, it is regulated by the four sites are there. They are called as a respiratory rhythm center, and where it is located in the medulla oblongata of the brain they are present. Next, the second one is called the pneumotoxic center. It is present in the pons of the cerebellum, the small brain, and also third one is the chemosensitive area that is present in near the respiratory rhythm center, means the inside of the medulla oblongata they are present, and the receptors for the identifying of the CO2 and H plus concentration. Some receptors are present in the aortic arc and also carotid atria. Here, this one is about next. The respiratory rhythm center is mainly responsible for the main is the respiratory rhythm center. It is the main for the responsible for the respiratory movements. Here, the pneumotoxic center send the signals to the pneumotoxic center sends the signals to the RRC. The alter the respiratory rate means the slow down and the decrease or increase of the respiratory movements are mainly controlled by the this one here. Which one? The pneumotoxic center send the signals to the RRC for the necessary actions. Here, next one is the chemosensitive area. They are sensitive to the carbon dioxide and H plus ions. They also send the signals to the all are communicate with the RRC. Respiratory rhythm center only they give the response here. Next, like this these are the next the chemoreceptors inside of the aorta and carotid artery, which are sensitive to the CO2 plus and H plus ions. Here they send to the RRC. Here, listen, students. These are four names are important. The respiratory rhythm center, pneumotoxic center, chemosensitive area, receptors. These four, the headings are important. The respiratory rhythm center located in the medulla oblongata and the pneumotoxic center in the cerebellum, the pons of the cerebellum, chemosensitive area, the respiratory rhythm center, receptors are presenting. They all are give the signals to the respiratory rhythm center. Like that only the respiratory movements are controlled. Yeah. Next one is the next respiratory disorders. Here. Next is the respiratory disorders. The first one is the first one is asthma. Second one is called as a bronchitis. First one is the asthma. Second is called as a bronchitis. Third one is called as a emphysema. Fourth one is called as a pneumonia. And the fifth occupational disorders. First, we are going to discuss about the asthma. What it is, asthma is mainly the affect the bronchi and bronchioles. Bronchi and bronchioles. Bronchi and in the bronchioles. Inflammation is occur. Swelling is occur. You see this one, asthma is a difficulty in the breathing. Breathing difficulty. How it is caused? Caused by the swelling, inflammation of the bronchi. What are the bronchi? The lungs are having the trachea, windpipe. Windpipe is like this. This windpipe is present. The windpipe is bifurcate into two. They are called as a trachea. Trachea is opens into the lungs. All of you know this one. This bronchi is undergoes the swelling. The bronchi walls are there now. They undergoes the inflammation. Inflammation is occur that causes the asthma. Clear? Asthma is a difficulty in breathing caused by the inflammation of bronchi and the bronchi branches, the bronchioles also. Next, what are the symptoms in the asthma patient? What are the symptoms are occur means wheezing means while breathing time the sound is occur that we call as a wheezing, and coughing and the chest tightness for the while breathing time the chest tightness is occur, and also the shortness of the breath is occur. Here this one is about the asthma. Respiratory disorder. First disease is asthma. Next is the bronchitis. What about the bronchitis means? Before that, only the bronchi and bronchioles, both of them are getting inflamed. But here in the bronchitis time, only the bronchi, only this part only undergoes the inflammation, and they producing some type of the watery substance that we call as a mucus. They are secreting the mucus. What are the symptoms means chronic cough means continuous. The cough will be there that we call as a permanent cough is there that we call as a chronic cough with the sputum means with the mucus of the sputum. Sputum means the white gelatinous substances comes out along with the chronic cough. Here this one is about the bronchitis. Next, third one is called as a emphysema. Clear? This one is before that which one is affected? Bronchi and bronchioles. In the asthma time, bronchi and bronchioles undergoes the inflammation. In the bronchitis time, only the bronchi is undergoes inflammation and producing the mucus. Next, the third one is called as a emphysema. it is affected to the alveoli. Clear? This is a chronic obstructive pulmonary COPDs. These are COPDs. Shortcutly we call as a, see which one is a COPD? Chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. What the asthma is also one COPD and bronchitis also one COPD and the emphysema is also chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. These three are continue. Once we get throughout the life we can have this one. That's why we call as a, this one is called as a chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Here. Next, the lining of alveoli inside of the lung, the number of the grape-like structures are present. All of you know this one. Alveoli is present. For the exchange of the gases, alveoli is present. This alveoli lining is damaged when those persons are having the emphysema. That time, the alveoli inside of the lining will be destructed. See this one, lining of the alveoli damaged and beyond repair, and also here the small packet-like structures are formed. Other than the alveoli, small pockets developed in the lungs. They trap the air. Instead of alveoli, these sacs are taking the air. That condition is called as a emphysema. Mostly emphysema affected the which persons means the smoking. Smoking is a major cause for this disease. Here, people feel the shortness of the breath. Here, this one is also called, this one is called as a emphysema. These three are the COPD. Next one is the pneumonia. Pneumonia is by the infection. This pneumonia is occurred by the infection. Which one? The Streptococcus pneumoniae bacteria. Streptococcus pneumoniae. Normally, Streptococcus pneumoniae bacteria causes the pneumonia. Sometimes it causes the other viruses and bacteria, fungi also causing the pneumonia. Next, it is the infective lung, infection of the lungs by the Streptococcus pneumonia. Further, the infection also by takes place by the virus, fungi, and some protozoan and mycoplasmas. Here, next, this one is about the pneumonia. Pneumonia only caused by the infection of that Streptococcus pneumonia. See here the given here asthma, bronchitis, emphysema, are the chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. These three are the chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Next, we are going to discuss about the occupational disorders. Next is the occupational disorders. Means some people are working in the quarries and industries. They are getting the occupationally, they are getting the disorders that we call as a occupational disorders. What it is means long time exposure to the industry's effluents. They are causing the diseases. They are called as a, first one is called as a asbestosis. The persons are working in the asbestos industries. They are exposed to the asbestos. They are causing the disease asbestosis. Next, second one is called as a silicosis. Those persons are working in the mines and quarries. Clear? Mines and quarries, they are working. They are exposed to the silica dust. They are causing the silicosis. Next, the siderosis means the workers are working in the steel and the iron industries, they are causing the siderosis. Next one is the last is the black lung diseases. The which workers, they are coal mines, those are working, that people are getting the this disease. See this one, shortcut, I will explain the respiratory disorders. I'm writing here. The first one is called as what is first one? First one is called as a normal disorders. They are called as a asthma. Second is called as a bronchitis. Next, the third one is called as a emphysema. The fourth one is called as a pneumonia. This asthma is mainly affected causes the inflammation in the bronchi. What are the symptoms are occur means the wheezing and coughing, the chest tightness, and the difficulty in breathing is occur in the asthma. Next one is the bronchitis that affect the only bronchi. Here the asthma is having the bronchi and bronchioles are affected, but bronchitis only bronchi is affected and they secreting the mucus that we call as a bronchitis. Next one is the third one is called as the emphysema that mainly affect the alveoli. Instead of that, the alveoli is affected and they are producing some type of mucus. And what are the symptoms means the mainly chronic cough will be occur. And the next last one is called as a pneumonia. Pneumonia is occur by the infection, the streptococcus pneumonia bacteria, and also sometimes it is occur by the bacteria, virus, and the protozoans also cause the this type of diseases. Next, the occupational disorders. The long time we are exposing some people are exposing the industry effluents like the asbestos, silica, like that. That time they are getting the diseases that we call as the occupational disorders. With the occupation, they are getting the disorders that we call as the occupational disorders. There are also 4 types are there: asbestosis, the silicosis, and the siderosis, and black lung disease. In the name only there. Those are working in the asbestosis company, the industries, they are getting asbestosis. Silicosis means those are working in the mining and quarries. They are getting the silicosis. Siderosis is the mainly occur in those are working in the steel and iron industries, they are getting. Next, the black lung disease that is occur, the workers are working in the coal mines. Here, this is about the second lesson SAQs. In the second lesson SAQs, we discuss about the four SAQs. The first one is the inspiration expression. Second is the carbon dioxide transportation. The third one is the respiratory movements regulation. And the third is the respiratory disorders. Here with this, we complete the 2B SAQs. Now we are going to the third lesson, third A and third B doesn't have the SAQs. Here, according to the weightage, in the third lesson, third chapter, no SAQs are there. That's why I'm taking the next the lesson that is called as a musculoskeletal system. We are taking in the musculoskeletal system. And next, I'm taking the Cori cycle. See here one more. Here the TS of kidney also already we finished. Once I'll explain this this one also. This is also important. TS of kidney. Mostly from this excretory system also. No SAQs are there. Sometimes they give the chances are there, and that's why I explained this one already. The TS of kidney, what it is, sorry, LS of kidney. Here it is having the It is a bean-shaped structure is present. The inside of that of the tissue is divided into two regions. Outer is called as a cortex. Outer region is called as a cortex, and inner is called as a medulla. Medulla. What it is? To draw like this. The bean shape already in the excretory system we discussed like this, and inside the pyramid-like structures are present. These are called as a renal pyramids are present in the medulla. This is inside of that. The number of nephrons are present, and between them the columns are there that we call as a columns of Bettini are also called as a renal columns. These pyramids are opens into the calyx. This is called as a calyx. Calyx is opens into the renal pelvis. This one, see this one. Here it is a renal pelvis is there. Renal pelvis is opens into the ureters. Here, this one is the ureters, and the one renal artery is enter inside, and the renal vein is comes out. Here, comes out from the kidney. Here, this one is the labeling. See this one. Outer is the cortex is there, and the inner medulla, and the outer side the covering is called the renal capsule, and between the renal pyramids column is there that we call as a renal column, and these columns are opens into the structures that we call as a renal calyx is there. See this one, calyx is there. These all the calyxes are combined and form it as a the renal pelvis is there. That renal pelvis opens into the ureters. Here, this one is about the structure of the I'll draw the diagram. See this one. See, you practice the diagram like this only. See. Illness of kidney. Just you observe the diagram, then only you get easy. See how I am drawing the diagram. See this one. These are simplest diagram. Just renal outside of the kidney. The capsule is there that we call as a renal capsule, and the inside the medulla, the number of the pyramids are there. They are called as a renal pyramids. Conical structures are present, triangular structures are present. They are called as a renal pyramids. The renal pyramids are present in the medulla region. They are opens into the calyx ones. The renal pyramids are opens into the calyx. The all are opens into this one is opens into the next ureter. The renal artery comes inside. Renal vein. goes out. Here, like this. I'm labeling this one. You observe here. The kidney is covered by the capsule that we call as a renal capsule. Next, this region is called as a cortex. Already we discussed the cortex. The inner is called as a medulla. These are called as the triangular structures is called as a renal pyramids. Between the renal pyramids, the columns are there. That is called as the columns of Bettini are also called as a renal columns. Next, that opens into the renal. The pyramids are opens into the tubules that we call as a calyx, are also called as a renal calyx. That opens into a wider part that we call as a renal pelvis. A renal pelvis opens out by the ureter. Next, here the blood circulation is there. The circulated blood by the renal artery. Renal artery brings the blood to the kidney and the renal vein comes out. Renal vein comes out. This one is about the diagram of the kidney. Try to draw the diagram, and this one is next. Next, we are going to discuss about the next one. Next question. I'll take the Cori cycle. See, the next lesson, I'm explaining about the Cori cycle. What about the Cori cycle means? This one is mainly the muscle contraction. This is belongs to the musculoskeletal system. This question is belongs to the musculoskeletal system. Most important. In this Cori cycle, what will happen means muscles are continuously, the skeletal muscles are continuously working. For example, we are running or walking continuously. What will happen means our muscles will get fatigued. That time what will happen means the oxygen is not sufficient and oxygen is not supplied to the skeletal muscles sufficient. That time here the inside of the muscles the lactic acid is produced. Here lactic acid is produced. In the absence of oxygen, anaerobic respiration is occur. After the anaerobic respiration, the lactic acid is produced. That lactic acid is converted into the glucose by the liver. That we call as a Cori cycle. The continuous working of the skeletal muscle, the muscles are not getting the sufficient oxygen. That's why they undergoes the anaerobic respiration. After the anaerobic respiration, they are producing the lactic acid. This lactic acid is the inside of the body. The lactic acid is converted into glucose by the liver. Liver only converts the lactic acid into the glucose. How it is means it is one. Lactic acid produced when oxygen is not available during rapid contraction of the skeletal muscle. Also it is partly oxidized. Next, the major part of the lactic acid carried to the liver. They carry to the liver and blood and converted into pyruvic acid first, pyruvic acid, and then form it as a glucose. I'll explain. See this one. Here it is the inside of the muscle. Inside of the muscle, the glucose is utilized, means the sufficient glucose is not there. That's why what will happen? they are releasing of the ATP. That process is called as a glycolysis, means glucose is breakdown. That we call as a glycolysis, and that is formed as a 2-pyruvate. First, it is formed as a 2-pyruvate, and 2-pyruvate is formed as a lactate inside of the muscle. This lactate is carried to the liver. Here, inside of the liver, they are first converted into lactate is converted into 2-pyruvate. This pyruvate undergoes the gluconeogenesis, means the formation of the glucose is called as a glucose. Here they are breakdown. Breakdown is called as a glycolysis. Glucose is breakdown is called as a glycolysis and form it as a pyruvate. Pyruvate is transported as a 2 lactate that transported to the liver, and that again form it as a pyruvate. Pyruvate is formed as a glucose. Here means the pyruvate, the lactic acid is converted into glucose inside of the liver. That process is called as a Cori cycle. Means inside of the muscle, after the anaerobic respiration, lactic acid is produced. That again form it as a glucose by this cycle that we call as a Cori cycle. This is also important. Next questions we will discuss in the next class. The same time we will meet tomorrow.